Well, we are heading out to start a new food plot. It's early February, and we've started one by mowing. We started food plots so many different ways, and I had a lot of people asking, I'm bulldozing a plot or I'm clearing one with heavy equipment, and where do I go from here? And so what we're doing is we have a little hunting plot, and we've been talking about doing this for a few years, and we just haven't. We have a huge bank of switchgrass in front of it so we can hide it behind. We have some gray dogwood, some briar, some sumac, and then it's back in the woods in an area where we've had early successional growth of the aspen. So we're gonna bulldoze that out. And I'm gonna go through the steps of, we've gone through the steps of what we're doing, grinding out some switchgrass, and now we're gonna kill it and get things planted and have a green food plot by this fall. And we're gonna talk about how that's a little bit different approach when we're bulldozing an area where we have to rip things out, let weeds come in because you're ripping up the soil. It is a little bit different approach. So we're going to go out, look at that spot. The first thing we're doing is flagging it off. So we'll get out there, and then I'll go through each one of those steps of how we're gonna take this somewhat wooded area. It's not huge timber, 4 or 5 inch diameter trees and maybe a couple larger ones. We'll talk about how we're gonna take that from this wooded setting, where it's at, the strategy for it, how it fits in with the rest of the land, where we're gonna put a blind or a stand, and then all those steps that we're gonna take to get it to a beautiful green food plot going into this season. And as normal, we have little Miss Jen coming out. She's our somewhat are you getting close to being a professional videographer at this point? Well, we've used videos that you've created on YouTube, and so.
Dylan makes them look good.
Yeah, well, we appreciate your effort. Now I want to talk about how this food plot fits in, and this entire stretch here, we have a lot going on. We're not that far away from our actual house, and which has probably kept us from making these improvements, but Jen shot Ocho, a 5-year-old monster, right behind the house last year, 100 yards back in the woods. So the big bucks do go through here, and as we're going through here, we have this big bank of switchgrass. We just passed the area, a water hole down in the woods where Jen shot, switchgrass right here. You can see how super thick it is behind me, and this is a rabbit hut area that we created a couple of years ago. And this switchgrass bank continues all the way up to the big timber in front of me, about 250 to 300 yards. And that's where we have a big food plot up there. It's a 2.5 acre food plot we call the hermit plot. This bank right here of switchgrass is, what do you think, Jen? Thickness here, 60, 70 feet wide? Right around there. So it's a really big, thick bank. It's about 4 years old. It's doing really well. And so we have the big plot over here. We have an area down the bottom that's actually pretty open timber, and we don't want deer there because we actually have a blind that we go in down the bottom over here, blow our scent down along this bottom. But what that does is it makes the deer, because everything's improved up top, we have bedding area on the back side of the food plot over there, bedding area below and on the other side of the water hole stand, all the switchgrass up here. The deer feel really comfortable running this top edge within 80 yards into the woods. And so it's the perfect spot right back in here on the other side of the switchgrass up against that larger timber to sneak this little hunting plot into. So that's where we're going, and it fits within a line. If you went to the back on the other side of the house and all the bedding area we've created there, some of our smaller food plots up around the house, the diversity pockets, you went along this entire line of improvement. We made improvements through here that are roughly, I would say, close to a half mile long. And this is right in the middle of all of it. And then it extends further from there. So just a little snapshot. This half mile snapshot is a really reflective of a long length through here. And that little hunting plot, perfect spot, is just right in the middle. It's in cover. It's in a spot where they all already move. So let's go in there. I'm going to flag it out and show you what it looks like. Now we have a hard time, I have a hard time coming out here not talking about our wildlife habitat, rabbits. We have cuttings of aspen through here, so we have grouse that we see here too, but this is a really long, strong bank of switchgrass. We want this extremely solid because we have to have that escape cover. escape cover around here in most areas of the upper Midwest, farmland, cover is what's lacking for pheasant. And so you have to have solid cover so that they can run long lengths. Pheasants that fly die. And then along here we have all this gray dogwood. So we have this gray dogwood briar connection. You can see some sumac back in here. So it creates that perfect cover to where if the switchgrass, for some reason we get 2 feet of wet, heavy snow, switchgrass will stand up more than any other grass, but it even has its limits. This gray dogwood doesn't have its limits. It's staying up. So in bad weather, extreme weather during the winter, pheasants get up under here. But all this, the 60 feet of switchgrass, gray dogwood, sumac, then we put that food plot on the inside. It all serves to offer incredible screening and to make those deer feel very comfortable going through that hunting plot. And again, this is just a long line of movement right here. We're gonna find some good tracks in here and trails and probably some rubs too, but perfect spot to chisel this out for a food plot. So we're back in here probably about 40 yards from the truck in that outside edge. You get back in here, we're on the edge of the sumac line. You can see a lot of the sumac super old, starting to get shaded out. And first thing you notice when you come back here are these trails going side to side. They feel very comfortable right here. And you look at some of these trees that are scarred from previous rubs, big rubs, going back and forth through here. So once you get in here, you're hidden, it's starting to tip down. So a deer that's right here would never see us going by on the outside. We have this elm tree right here that might be a perfect spot for Family Traditions ladder stand. Or we could stick a redneck back in this brush as well. But bottom line is I'm gonna go ahead and rim this out right here so you can visualize what it looks like, and then I'll talk about those steps we're gonna go through to make this food plot and make sure it's a green food plot by the time it gets into this fall. Now, first step complete. We've ribboned this off, and I would say we're about 40 yards long by 25 yards wide, 30 yards wide, right around there. But we're right around 10,000 square feet, which is really close to a 1/4 acre. And that's what I really wanted here. I didn't want something super tiny, but I want something really big where deer are actually coming here as a destination. I want them going out side to side to bigger food sources on either side. The hermit plot, like I said, is about 250 yards away, and that's perfect. They can just cruise here. We want this more of a cruising area. Now, when we clear this, you see a lot of the stuff we have to clear. There's a couple larger hickories in here, a little bit larger cherry, but most of it's this aspen right here. We have 2 larger hickories right here, and those are literally the biggest trees right in this location right here. These are the only 2 larger trees we have, and still they're not mature. Jen's standing on a really good deer trail right here. There's an old scrape right here. And then down here at the backside, you can see the mature timber we have back there. There's a really good deer trail going in front of that. So we've incorporated both deer trails. So when we clear this, and I already talked to our excavator, Jared, he comes out here and does a lot of work for us, and he's literally gonna have more transportation cost and time to get and clear this little food plot than he will in clearing it. It's not gonna take him long at all. Now, I asked him if he could come out here now. It's early February, and that was a quick no. The ground is frozen. He can't get in here yet. But as soon as it's thawed out, he'll be in here. It's one of the first things he does this spring. And when we have him come out here, we'd rather just have him for a day. We have a couple inner trails that we need cleared up. We'll have him hit those, but I think that'll be it for him coming out here. When he clears this, it's really critical. Like I said, we have trails crossing through here. You probably do too, where you have where you're installing a food plot. I want to incorporate these trails. I don't want to block them off. I don't want anything blocked off. These briars are going to encompass anything that we put into them. The briars will still continue and they'll grow up around. I'd rather Jared take all the spoils from clearing this out, push it in a hole back there, meaning just not a hole in the ground, but a hole back in the cover where we have a pile of debris there, maybe a pile of debris over here, maybe 1 pile down here, 2 piles, but they're randomly scattered around the food plot, and they're outside of this inner edge of the food plot, meaning they're 10, 15 yards back. So in the future, they just blend in. So when you're standing on this, and we show this to you in the fall, it's going to be a beautiful soft edge all the way around. In fact, straight over here, we have branches hanging out, and I fully intend to, whether it's that branch right there or this one over here, we'll have a mock scrape hanging on that. as soon as this is cleared. So I'll talk to Jared, make sure he doesn't clean that out. When I flag this out, I expect all the flags still showing after Jared clears it, and that'll be that outside border of the food plot. Now, once this is clear, I want to wait for weeds. We don't know what's in this weed bank here. I know we're going to have a lot of aspen shoots coming up, briars. There's going to be a lot of stuff that are coming in. We have a lot of burrs, stickers. There's all kinds of stuff in here, sumac. When this starts coming in, I want to get a very good kill on it. A little bit different from the food plot we were clearing where it's all switchgrass. Switchgrass has been a monoculture. It's kept everything growing for about 5 years. So we clear that switchgrass out, we're not going to have a huge weed bank that's going to come in from underneath. A lot of those weeds that would have germinated, seeds laying on the soil under that switchgrass would have germinated, not hit sunlight, and then they die because that switchgrass smothers it out. Totally different here because we're ripping up the soil. We're going to expose whatever rootstock and weed seeds are in the ground. And so on that one over there, I feel pretty comfortable killing a couple times and then broadcasting our spring drought attack clover blend, our perennial spring drought attack, so that we can actually have a nurse crop and cover crop of the annual ryegrass coming in that'll die after this year. We can mow it out later in the summer if the clover is really doing well. I could take a chance on that over there. I don't want to do that here. I want to wait for weeds to come in and I want to kill them. I want to kill them again. And if I feel confident around June 1st that we've gotten a good kill in here, 2 good kills, we space them out at least 6 weeks apart. So I'd like to get a kill in here by the end of April and then another one by early June. I will use 2,4-D and Roundup both times because I want to get a very good kill. I could come in here and I'll put buckwheat for the summertime. That buckwheat will last till early August. We'll kill it the end of July, right around there. And then we can actually plant into it like we do our other crops. And what I'd do here is, even though this is only a 1/4 acre, I'll probably cut this in half. I'll do one with our Big Boost 365, and that'll leave us, the 365 refers to the clover base, our perennial base. And that's a brassica blend, our Big Boost brassica blend. And we tailor it and change it, modify it so it's a better fit for clover. There's a lot of things we do to it. And then we have our Fall Power greens. We modify that, and it's our Fall Power 365. So I'll put one on the upper half, one on the lower half. The whole goal is I want this all in clover going into next year. That's what we love on our little hunting plots. The deer get used to using them or passing through them all summer long. And then we have that great perennial as a base going into the season. So we need to get those 2 sprays and kill. We'll put that buckwheat down. Approximately 7 weeks later, we'll be spraying, smashing at the same time like we do everywhere else. And then about a week to 10 days after that, we'll come in here and we'll just simply broadcast our seed. We will never till this, disc this, plow this. It's completely unnecessary. In fact, if we were doing that, we're going to risk erosion because this is all tipped to the inside right here. So it'd be a really bad thing for possible erosion. We just don't need to rip up the soil, and we'll have a beautiful food plot going into the fall. There's a few things we have to take into account. This face right here is running north and south, this direction right here. I don't really care about where we hunt, stand location as far as wind. You build the plot, you build your hunting setup based on the deer movement, and then you hunt it with the appropriate wind. And so we're not thinking of predominant wind or anything. What I am thinking about is direction. South is right up here. So you can see that this end of the food plot starts to tip down. That's a good thing because we're stopping that food plot short of this end. We'll have a lot of low brush and briars, so that once we clear to this end, we're going to have a really good open canopy all the way from when the sun sets over here all the way in through here. So over half the day we'll get full sunlight into here, which will be great for our clover and anything we're planting in here. So we'll have even like sun-loving brassica will do really well in here and get full sun, and then we'll have plenty of sunlight for the clover. You still need 3 or 4 hours for that clover. We're going to get it here. Now I've left a little bit of the timber in the form of the sumac, not really timber, but along this edge we want as much cover going in here. On this flat part right behind where Jen is standing, is the thickest patch of cover we have, and it's most hidden from our access on the outside. Where it starts to tip down here and tip down over there, I hope that makes sense. It's almost facing towards our access. So I rounded the plot in that in those corners on each end so that we have a thicker edge. So instead of being 80 yards, it's more like 90 to 100 yards on both of these ends, facing that outside angle where we could approach from. So a lot of cover. We're coming in basically at the narrowest point, but also the thickest point of cover in our access. All that's left now, we're going to have that really clean edge all the way around. We'll add cameras. We'll add a camera. We'll add a mock scrape once this is cleared out right away, and we'll add the tree stand or blind. And Jen, I'm going to put you on the spot. You thought maybe you were just filming out here, but what do you think?
I think it's great.
You think it looks pretty?
Yeah, why?
It's going to look nice. The tree back here, right up there, we could put a family tradition stand right in that smaller middle trunk. We'd be flanked by those larger trunks on either side. It's kind of deceiving in the video right here. I would say that we're at, those trees, those trunks up there, at least 10 to 12 inches in diameter. So that's a good thing. I would say we could put the tree stand there. And then we have another option, I would say probably over on this end where it gets pretty thick and there's fewer deer moving through, which would be right in back in there. Maybe even where that giant cherry is. I think it's cherry back there, which is right up back in there. We could put a redneck blind. So what do you think? Family tradition stand, we would access right through this high point. Wouldn't be exposed. Coming in, we could just pop right up into that stand, or blind over on that side. I'm not sure which one we'll do, but I want to get your input.
I think I'd rather have a family tradition right there.
I'm leaning towards, and originally I was thinking more blind. And you don't go by this, but you can see the dilapidated old ladder wooden stand pre-made thing. You can see nails sticking out of the top of it. There's something always almost romantic about using a tree that has a stand in it or had a stand, or even hunting an area. You always just look at it, well, someone thought this was a good spot in the past, right? The only thing is it's facing out towards the field. So they were hunting field movement right here, probably blowing their scent in here and spooking everything in here. So completely opposite approach. And I find that on a lot of properties you go to and we hunt, we are doing things opposite, which helps us get and consistently harvest those target bucks. So I like the idea of the ladder stand right there. I think it's going to hide in really nice. We'll have great access, dead ending right there. And there might even be a good spot for a pile right in that front right there too. But bottom line is, we'll bring this progress to you throughout the spring and into the summer, and certainly planting. We'll bring it to you while hunting. Jen, how do you feel about sitting here and hearing the kids play outside over there? It's just, I think the house is about, would you say 150 to 175? Yeah, maybe closer to 200, but it's not that far.
No.
Not a big deal.
No.
I heard the squirrels chatter after you shot your buck this year, so.
I'll be chattering next year.
Yeah, but anyways, we'll bring it to you throughout this year. I hope you enjoyed the strategy of this, and it's going to be an important setup. It's been a long time coming in this spot. So we do so much work here, but all these pieces take time to put in, and when you get other pieces set, it allows you to do other things. It's just, again, reinforcing this whole line of movement right here. And what's cool about adding a piece like this, it also strengthens the water hole stand right over here, and it strengthens the movement over to the food plot over there. So every piece you add, the mock scrape, the water hole, the big food plot over there, it just all plays a part to strengthen that line of movement and put deer where we need them to be in front of our tree stand for this fall. Everyone, thanks for watching to the end of the video. I really want you to check out whitetailhabitatsolutions.com, Pure Wildlife Blends. There's so much we have to offer you. You know, If you never buy anything from us or hire us to come to your land, that's okay. We're still going to be putting out all this free content to try to help you out. I want to put a smile on your face. I want you to have a great hunt. But from our food plot seed blends to books to web classes to hiring us, we have lots of stuff to offer on whitetailhabitatsolutions.com and Pure Wildlife Blends. Make sure you check it out. The links are in the description.